What is going on? We're back at it again with another episode of Team Chats with Brett Owens and James Gillespie here. And what we are going to be talking about today is snacking, right? It is something that Brett's about to open up and give a little backstory of why it's even important to you to hear right now. But snacking is something that definitely derails some people when they're starting health and wellness and or stops them from jumping in at all. So Brett, kind of give me some backstory of why this is important or pertinent right now, and then we'll jump into it.
Yeah, I have, well, for one, I have a client that she was talking about how the snacking can get in the way of progress. A lot of times she's not snacking on things that are, approved or that are getting her, I guess, closer to goal. Just candy and things like that. And then I've also talked to a lot of people on phone calls and even just messaging people and grazing is what I hear a lot of, is just that they're not really eating solid meals. They're just eating a little bit of this and that throughout the day. And then by the end of the day, they're probably eating like 800 calories of just like junk or just things that, aren't conducive with the weight loss goal that they have. And yeah, I mean I've just been seeing that a lot. So I thought it'd be interesting to talk about.
Yeah, let's maybe break that down to a couple of different compartments or components. So first and foremost, snacking in general, right? In your mind, Brett, why are people snacking in the first place?
Because they're bored a lot of the time. I wouldn't say all the time, but I think that the majority of the time, I know, especially when I was on my heavier side and I wasn't really focused on nutrition and stuff the way I am now, that I'd be watching TV and you always want, you want a little treat. You want to grab you know, some junk from the pantry. You're constantly walking back and forth to the fridge, grabbing something. So I think a lot of it is out of boredom. Um, that's the first thing that comes to my head.
Yeah, and when it's not boredom, what do you think it is?
I mean, I don't that's I don't know. I mean, like, what do you have something coming up in your head that you're thinking of?
100%. And I think it's that they're under eating macronutrients that keep them full, right? And so I think the easiest way to rock is, hey, we have oral fixations, right? We have a need to always be eating, being connected. Same way with social media, right? We sit in a position where we're going to just continually aimlessly scrolling our phone, right? And not pay attention to the people that are in front of us, not devour our wife, not praise our boyfriend, not be present for our husband, or not be present when we're working. Like, we have this inability to be where our feet are, right? 10 toes
Mhm.
down. And I think that leads a lot of the time to snacking amongst other things, right? And so I think that because we have this, like, hey, we're moving fast, we're doing life, we're doing work, it's always from one thing to the next. We lose the ability to necessarily control what we're eating on a day-to-day basis because we do not plan. So we don't plan, and then we find ourselves in a place where we're hungry, and then we find ourselves in a place where the pantry is the devil, right? Because we have all kinds of foods that we know are not going to bring us towards our goal, and we think we're going to have enough self-control to not touch. And then either we're like, well, you know what, I should probably be eating right now because look at the rest of my family. Everyone's on the couch eating gummy bears, right? Or
Mhm.
eating popcorn. So like, I might as well do the same thing. Or like, I don't know what to do with my hands. I don't want to work right now. I'm gonna go get something to eat. Cool. Um, or potentially a way to solve this faster for anyone, no matter what the circumstance is to eat more motherfucking protein at your meals and have appropriate amounts of fat and carbs so that you're not hungry.
Mhm.
If you're full from your meals, there's a much lower likelihood that you're going to grab gummy bears and just eat them because you're bored.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I think that that is the initial response that I usually have. I don't know why that didn't come to my head when you asked, but
I'm like,
that is
just
the initial.
boredom, Brett. Just boredom. Are you serious? Come on. There couldn't be any other reason.
Right. No, I that is the initial response that I had for my client too, is just that, like, to me it sounded like we're not eating enough throughout the day, and what we are eating, it's not high enough in protein. And then of course, you go into the macros, you see like where she had put, her um, calories and things like that. And they were on a little bit of the lower side. So it was definitely, I think that, like you said, it's just there's not enough being consumed throughout the day, and definitely not enough protein being consumed to satiate and to keep her from snacking as much. And we also talked about a good way to combat that. We talked about hydration and water. Like a lot of times, if you want to lose weight, right? If you want to get the weight down, and you're craving stuff all the time, I mean, at least for me, I will just chug water just to fill my stomach up, make me feel full, and eventually, after about 5 or 6 minutes, when that water actually hits, you're like, okay, I can hold off. I'll be okay. So it's a good habit to kind of get into and to get your hydration up too.
Yeah. And I would say, there's probably going to be people listening to this and are like, well, wouldn't I hit satiety faster if I was eating more fats? The answer is yes, 100%. I mean, caloric density in a gram of fat, right? We're talking different than protein. The reason why our recommendation is eat more protein is because there's a high likelihood that you're not going to overeat protein. And if you do, it's not going to have the downstream negative effects that overeating too much fat or too many carbs would. And I'm not talking about you eating a pound of fruit. Like that really, to me, I mean, you can argue all day. That doesn't matter, right? I'm talking about you're eating a sheet ton of bread, or you're eating a ton of candy, sweets, something high in very refined sugar with no complementary fiber at all, right? And potentially, oftentimes those things are also high in fat because they want the flavor to be there. And so they're ultra processed. And then we find ourselves in a position where we're eating way too many calories, but the nutrient density of it, right? The actual goodness of it, it isn't there.
Yeah, your
And
body
so,
can't do anything with it.
like, you're putting shit food in, and then shit is coming out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the things that are sticking around are not things that are helping move you towards your goal. And so, with people that working with me, excuse me, clients that are in with me in person, online, what have you, the goal is always, when you're hungry, if you don't have water or you don't want to drink water, have something that's as single source to protein as possible to hold you over, and set a timer. I do a little timer test, right? A little 10-minute, right? Someone's like, oh man, I want to reach for those gummy bears. Got it. Totally hear you, right? Have a protein shake, have some beef jerky, have some tuna, have some hard boiled eggs, have something that's high in protein, that has more protein than it does carbs or fat. Okay. Have a serving, whatever that is, 4 ounces, 6 ounces, 8 ounces, whatever. Set a timer for 10 minutes. If in 10 minutes you still want the lollipop, get the damn lollipop. I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt, 9 out of 10 times, you ain't going to grab that shit. You
Yeah.
ain't going to grab it.
And I'm curious too, just for you, like when you tell someone that, or even if you just tell someone like, hey, okay, yeah, you want to eat the gummy bears, well, why don't we have a source of protein instead, like beef jerky, eggs, whatever. What if somebody comes to you and says, well, that doesn't feel like a sustainable way to live? I've heard that before. What's your response to that?
How do you mean by sustainable?
That doesn't feel like something, like, why would I want to do that for the rest of my life? Why can't I just have this little treat that I want?
Is reaching for protein today on October 24th, 2023, the rest of your life?
No.
Do you think that you have weight loss goals the rest of your life?
Not if I'm diligent about it and take care of it on the front end.
Got it. So why don't we just worry about what's here and now today? We're on a path where we're trying to lose 10 to 15 pounds. Let's worry about that. And then let's look at maybe reincorporating in smaller dosages down the road. But today, we've proven to one another that we can't eat that in small quantities. And so let's exclude it for now with a 10-minute test. And if you want it in 10 minutes, have it. A serving, not 12, a serving. But exclude it for 10 minutes and let's see where we're at. You do not have to reach for beef jerky every single time you're hungry for the rest of your life. Hell, I don't even know how long your life is going to be, nor mine, nor anybody else's. Let's worry about today, 10 toes down.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I mean, it all comes back to just, worrying about right now. That is one thing that, I had to talk to her about, this client about. And it is like, yes, the goal here is to create a sustainable lifestyle, but I can't control what you're going to do in the next 2 or 3 years. What I can help you control is what we take care of today. And if we can take care of this today, we focus on that and then just let it stack over time, lay those foundational bricks down. Eventually, it does become sustainable. You do get used to it. It gets easier.
Yeah, but at least for now, when someone's a client of ours, they're paying an overwhelming amount of money to have one-on-one attention to get to a goal. So while you're paying for this already, you've already paid, right? You've already decided that this is something that meant enough to you to put money where your mouth is. Let's do our very best. And if after this 6 months or 12 months or 9 months, you don't want to do any of this anymore at all, that's your prerogative. But let's not squander the amount of time that you've already paid for, then committed to, right? Because you're worried about where you're going to be in 5 years, or you're worried about where you're going to be when you're pregnant, when you're not pregnant right now, right? Or you're worried about what you're going to do when you have a husband down the road and you don't have one right now. Like today, let's worry about today. Let's do the very best that we can with the goals that you shared that you had. And let's work on being better for the next 24 hours. And I, for people that have trouble with that, even try to break it up into sixes, right? 6 hours ahead. Where are we going to be in 6 hours? Where are we going to be in 6 hours after that? And continue to break it down there, because sometimes you're day to day, sometimes you're hour to hour, sometimes you're minute to minute. Stress can overwhelm you at any moment, right? It's not about not eating the ice cream when you're out with your friends on Saturday. If it's Monday, just do your best today. We can tackle that then.
I love that reframe. And another thing too, I'm curious to kind of pick your brain about when it comes to, like, I hear a lot of things about stress eating and stress snacking and things like that. You know, you gotta say they're a student, they got school going on, they got kids, they've got a marriage, like they're trying to balance all these things. And their one outlet to feel good is food. How would you tackle that? Is it the same reframe?
Well, a lot of times people don't want to hear this, but obesity, right, and being overweight is oftentimes associated with affluence, right? It's very hard for you to find people on the street that are morbidly obese. Why? Because you physically can't overconsume that much, right? Having pressure from a job, from work, from a relationship, from what have you, is a privilege to prove to yourself that you can get through it, whether you cause it or not, right? Whether you cause it or not at all. The thing is that if every time you decide in the moment that you don't want the goal, that you spent time, effort, went through a sales process, contacted us ahead of time, have started to did onboarding, you showed up to all of these things. You showed up not to all of these things so you can give up today, right? We need to make it through. And if in every moment you have the opportunity to cheat on your diet, to cheat on the protein goal, to avoid the steps and mark them off anyways, if you decide to take that route, we can't stop you, but we can tell you definitively that you won't hit your goal.
Yep.
No amount of hacking your way there and trying to pretend that you did XYZ can be avoided when you step on the scale. And when we look at your composition photos, and it doesn't mean that you're bad because you're being a little devious. It does mean that you have opportunities for temptation in all kinds of areas all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, if you don't tell us what's going on, we're not going to be able to help. I'm not gonna ground you because you fell off the tracks. I'm not gonna punish you because you messed up. You're human and you're gonna mess up, and that's okay. We just got to get back on the tracks. I feel like I say that every single episode, but I mean, that's the thing, you know, it's a day, like you said, it's just a day at a time, dude. And if you lie, you're not lying to us. You're letting yourself down. You're lying to yourself, you know?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that the thing to keep in mind here is that, you know, it's inevitable that you're going to trip and fall. We all do. The speed at which you get back on will determine how successful you are. The
Amen.
speed at which you decide to, you know, do DMs a way that's beneficial to you, the faster you'll see the results that you're looking for. The faster that you get back to the gym after you skipped a few days and you feel bad about it instead of wallowing, the better off you're going to be, right? Same thing with protein, same thing with meal prepping, same thing with walking. We can all lie to ourselves, but again, like you just said, the only people that's hurting is you.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, it bodes well for us as a coaching program for you to get better results faster. So we're incentivized to help you get results faster, but we're not willing to do that at the expense of it being crashy and you not being able to sustain it. There's not a single thing that any of our coaches, any of the three of us, ask any client to do that could not be sustained for life if desired. There's not a single thing. We do not ask you to cut out food groups. We do not ask you to get rid of macronutrients. We do not ask you to go to ultra restrictive, stand on your head, piss in this cup, drink it. We don't ask you to do things that are outlandish. It's small, measurable steps day over day that compound, that make the outcome possible. But if you don't pay attention to the process goals, you can't get there. Right? Absolutely not. So I think, kind of to tie this in a bow, the snacking, like anything, is just an opportunity to do what you said you were going to do when you jumped in with us in the first place. And do it for you, not us. Right? Do it because it's going to move you closer to goal, not further away. Does it mean that you can never touch ice cream? No. Does it mean you can never touch gummy bears? No. Does it mean you can never touch soda or alcohol or anything else? No. My ass had a lot of banana pudding on Saturday night. Guess who's not apologizing for it? This fucking guy.
I had a pound of Skittles on Saturday, dude. I don't care. It's all good.
I had gummy bears today. Now I feel like I'm in confessional. But anyways, I think that the fact of the matter is that there's an opportunity to learn from every, let's call it screw up, or step or trip or fall. And there's also an ability to not judge yourself so harshly, like you just murdered your father. Like, having a snack is not the end of the world. Yeah. Now, habituation with those kind of things will lead you away from your goal. And like, that's not us being a dick. That's just the truth. It's the truth. Yeah. Right? So how fast do you want to get there? And do you want to put your investment to good use if you're with us? And if you're not with us, I wouldn't recommend, I 100% would not recommend, I was telling a client this the other day, for them to come in, pay me $1,500 a month to see me 3 times a week and have nutrition and accountability, just to only hit steps once a week, only show up for your sessions, and not pay attention to nutrition. That's a whole lot of money to just come work out with me for 3 hours.
Yep.
Now, I can't force her to do this, right? She shows up to the sessions. She gives it her all in her sessions. But if you're paying $1,500 a month just for 3 sessions a week, and you have access to all this other stuff, but you're not doing any of it, who's really to blame when you don't get the results?
Mm-hmm. That's what I was going to say. I mean, it's like, if it's something in that, like if it's that situation, we aren't going to be the ones to blame. We have way too many systems in place to make sure that you succeed for it to be our fault. It's going to be, your fault. If you choose not to utilize the resources that we give you, I mean, you just got to call it what it is.
Yeah, spade a spade, because we have systematically approached it. Food list, shopping guides, eating out guides, every recipe, a new recipe book with 15 recipes every damn month without fail. Like, it's not challenge guides. Everything that we've ever used for clients, someone could have access to if they're struggling with something. Anyone that works with us can have all of it, right? To make it super easy. But you got to put your ass in the seat. You got to put your ass in the kitchen. You got to put your ass out there walking, right? Moving your feet. Take some time. Nobody's going to be perfect. But I think that letting snacking be the reason that you don't hit your goal is kind of like letting not hitting your steps be the reason you don't hit your goal.
Mm-hmm.
Small, measurable things. And oftentimes, last thing I want to say here, and then I'm done on my end, is we overlook these small things. And we say, oh, it's okay to just like not do it a few times. But then it becomes a habit. And then you reinforce that habit by feeling good when you skip it because you went and got an ice cream, or you did this or you did that. And then you turn into someone that doesn't honor their own word to themselves. And I can promise you this, it's not the cookies or ice cream or the sherbet that's the problem. It's your inability to be true to your word that is the problem.
Yep. 100%. Yeah, And yeah, I mean, like you said, it's just like any good habit that's stacked, the bad habits stack the same way. I mean, like you all those little like attaboys and like good like little treats that you give yourself consistently over time, or like you feel those little feel good moments, they stack up, and then eventually you're looking back at 50 days of not doing what you're supposed to do. You feel like a fat slob and you start feeling sorry for yourself, and then the whole victim thing comes into play, and then it's just like a spiral from there. So take care of it today, take care of it on the front end so that you don't end up in that position.
Yeah. Nobody wants to be a matter of circumstance, right?
Right.
Personal responsibility over it all. So I hope that everyone that is listening to this got something out of it. I hope that the clients that we're referencing, maybe deep in their heart, know that we're talking about them, and they can get this figured out, because I think that we're all a whole lot better when we don't let something that's in our control stand in our way.
Mm-hmm.
We will see you next week. This is Team Chat, I think 5, right? Is that what we said?
5, yep.
005. And we are rocking and rolling every week. You don't have too much fun missing us. We only come out once a week, every Sunday, 6 p.m. If you have questions, comments, concerns, really the comment section on this on YouTube is the fastest way to get anything back. If you want to talk coaching, we have our Facebook group linked in the description below. And then someone on our team, Brett or I, Daniel, someone else will reach out to you if you do join our Facebook group, and then we can rock and roll from there. Thank y'all for listening, and that's all we got.
Appreciate y'all.